UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I am your host, Amy Nelson, and Pat is currently on an away mission to Starfleet headquarters. After listening to our last episode, they sent a transmission ordering Pat to join the task force to rewrite that darn prime directive. So in his place, we have Kevin Parlagreco. He's our Federation emissary for today. Kevin, welcome.
Hello. Hello, everybody. How are you? You can tell me later.
So you have been on All Good Things, but wasn't with me.
It was not with you. No, it was just Pat. You were on the Star Trek cruise. We wanted to be with you.
Yes. Well, maybe next year. I still haven't decided if I'm going to go or not because it was really hard to miss a full week of school. That was really tough.
Believe that. Oh, I'll go in your place.
Yeah,
I don't do school, so.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I would recommend definitely going if you are able to. So,
wasn't Gates on there this time?
Yeah. We had so many. Oh, it was just so wonderful to see everyone. So good.
She's at the top of the list.
Oh my gosh. So that's why you and Pat get along.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We both like Beverly.
Yeah. Well, you can find the network on Twitter and Facebook at UFP Earth. And if you'd like to send us an email, you can message the network at contact@ufp.earth. So, Kevin, we are here to do another episode comparison, this time with the Next Generation Season 6, Episode 21, Frame of Mind, and our Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 18, Hard Time. So these episodes have some things in common, which I found very interesting. It's a little disturbing, as we were talking before the show started.
Yeah, they're very intense.
Yeah, very intense. And like a lot of questions that we'll get to, because I'm just so curious as to if this is a good idea or, you know, what if we had that technology. Very crazy and a little scary to see what might could happen.
Yeah. As I was watching it, my brain was just shooting back and forth. Yes or no? Yes or no? This is bad. Maybe this is good.
Yeah. So let's go through the episodes first, and then we'll sort of do a comparison and get to the difficult questions. So for Frame of Mind, TNG, we have Riker thinks that he is losing his mind when reality keeps shifting between an alien hospital and the Enterprise, where he is rehearsing a play. So what did you think about Frame of Mind? Had you seen it before?
I've seen The Next Generation several times over. And I was pretty excited when that was the first one that popped up on your list because it's a great episode for Jonathan Frakes. And we don't get to see Jonathan Frakes really dive into some of the powerhouse performances he can give, and this was a good one. So I was real excited. He's great in this episode.
Yeah, season 6, there seems to be fewer Riker episodes. We get a lot of good Riker episodes in the earlier seasons, especially 1 and 2. Well, I consider them good, but he is absolute astounding, his acting ability and what he does with this episode. It's so convincing, so real. I just feel like watching this that I'm in there with him. He just envelops everything and you're right there with him the whole time.
I think it helps in a lot of ways the way that the episode is presented to us, because you are inside his mind up until the very end of the episode. And so you don't know what to believe either as a viewer. And it just heightens the experience so much. So,
I know.
yeah.
I remember watching, and you don't know what's real and what's not, because his mind keeps going, and it's like, because, Star Trek is really good at doing these, fake realities. But when the really scary part was like when Beverly goes into the hospital and tries to convince him to leave. And he's like, no, I won't go. And then he confesses, yeah, I've seen, my crewmates, and that I know that's fake. And I'm like, no. And it had me. That one point in the episode is what really I was questioning, what in the heck is going on.
Yeah, I mean, to have the relationship with the different characters and to have the benefit, this is an episode that would not have worked in like season 1, but in season 6, to have everything so established, and you want your beloved Riker to get out, and you see his friends and his crewmates trying to get him out, I mean, you're just automatically invested, sucked right into it with him.
And you're right, because we get the sort of the backstory that, Beverly's now putting on plays for the crew and for their off time. And so Riker going back and forth between this play. And I mean, kudos to Beverly Crusher for writing an amazing play that is so disturbing and dark. It's like, Beverly, what are you doing?
Yeah, she's got some stuff going on. It's coming out. But it was like 20 minutes of this episode was just set up for the first flashback. You don't even realize that you're you don't realize it until the end, but to have, 20 minutes all on the Enterprise, and it feels like a normal, and it's just about Riker and this play performance. It reminds me a little bit of like Data's Day, where it's just kind of like hanging out with somebody for a minute. And then when they do that first transition and he realizes that he's jumping between these realities, as a viewer, you're shot back big time.
Yeah. And near the end, where every single time, like his forehead starts to bleed, and that's sort of our clue that it's like, this isn't real because there's the blood on his forehead. And you're like, well, where's the real Riker? Because you're going back and forth and you just don't know what is real and how traumatizing that is. And it's interesting at the end of the episode, like Troy suggests to Riker that, your mind was putting up these barriers to try and protect yourself. And it's like, gosh, that was our clue, like his mind putting up these barriers and then having this blood off his forehead. Like that was really creepy to me, because what was real and what is not. And it just sort of made me think about like, well, what barriers do we put up when we're trying to protect ourselves? Like, what do we tell ourselves to make life easier?
What do you tell yourself, Amy?
So, Kevin,
are we going to really get into this?
We're getting into it, because this is how I like to do podcasts.
This is not the first episode where Riker has something with his temple either, is it? Deanna's drinking out of his brain with a straw. And
That's right.
So that's a little weird.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot that. That was in a season 7 episode. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
Maybe he never came back out of this episode.
Yeah, maybe.
When I was watching this, I'm picking up on things, and I'm kind of in my mind saying, is that experience real? Is that experience real? I think they give us the story, to see these fragments of moments from the two different perspectives, and then the story come together. It was very interesting, in my opinion. I loved watching him being behind closed doors and having Data and Worf come in, and not to have like the ready room conversation, we're going to send you two in to go and get him, for it just to happen, and to kind of be on the flip side of that coin was a lot of fun. I just kind of like the Back to the Future Part 2, where they retell the end, of Back to the Future Part 1.
Right.
And it's all just fun to see it from the alternate perspective. So I got a little bit of that vibe watching this episode. And then, of course, to see Riker say no and then run past them to his captors, that's obviously how they got him, away. But then he's still stuck inside his mind. I guess the drugs hadn't worn off or something like this.
Yeah. Interesting you say that, because I when I was doing the synopsis, it wasn't really made clear. It's not the forefront of why is Riker captured? Why is he going through this? And I had to really write down in the notes, okay, so he was on Talonis 4. The government had fallen to anarchy, and one of the Federation research teams went missing. And so they sent the Enterprise there to, find where this research team went. But they captured Riker and was trying to gain Federation secrets and information. And that seems like such a minor part of the episode, but it sort of sets up the whole thing. But you're right, we don't find out that until the very end. And so that, again, just goes to more questions of what is this episode about? Why do they have Riker? What are they doing to him? It keeps the suspense going.
It does. It really does. And I mean, probably one of the better written Next Generation episodes, just because they're able to play it off and not, have it come out really cheesy, or, it could have come out really convoluted and poorly, and Lord knows some of the Next Generation episodes did, but this was not one of them, thankfully.
One thing I really like about this episode, it feels very high quality, in part because of the direction and the camera angles that are used. I'm not that familiar with scary movies or, anything like that. But when they're building up that suspense and the questions and how the camera shots are filmed really leads to, sometimes it feels like we are watching Riker, in the insane asylum. And sometimes it feels like we are Riker because we're getting his points of view. And I love the direction of this episode.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. There's so many mind-bending elements that they produce. And yes, the Dutch angles, the shots through the glass with him screaming through the glass and these sorts of things. Oh my goodness. I mean,
I know. My heart is beating fast. I'm reliving it again, just thinking about it, because it's that good. Yeah. Oh, I noticed you didn't answer my question. So what barriers do you put up to protect yourself?
I don't.
No barriers.
No, I really don't. If you were to get to know me through and through, you'd find out that I'm a pretty straightforward person. Yeah. You don't believe me.
Well, I think we sort of all do put up some barriers.
Maybe that's my barrier.
Yeah, right? Because you deflected the question first time I asked it.
I was pretty good at that, wasn't I?
Yeah.
But it's true. Everybody does put up barriers, I don't consciously think I put up barriers, but I'm sure that I do.
Well, I think
it might be a question better for my wife.
Right.
She might have a lot to say about that.
She might. Yes. Let's get her in. No, I was thinking about this and trying to figure out, okay, yeah, because I know that I do. I put up quite a few barriers, in part, I think, to protect myself, but especially after going through, say, a friendship or relationship where someone has inadvertently or advertently hurt me. And so I'm like, I don't think I can really trust them with all the information or exactly who I am, or trust opening up to them, because I don't want to get that hurt feeling from them or rejected from them.
Well, I could tell you how I handle people like that. They're just not in my life anymore.
It definitely, the older I get, the more it's especially now on social media, it's someone's being all rude. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even need to see you. So
yeah, you're
unfriend,
gone.
delete, block, whatever. Because
I have been that since the beginning of time. That's, it's